So in this lecture, we'll understand what are the different DNA damage repair mechanisms available in the cell. This is the usual disclaimer that this presentation is meant for educational purpose for the students of School of Life Sciences of this university. It should not be used for any other purpose, copied or posted on any site without my permission. And some of the pictures in the presentation have been taken from public domain websites to make the topic easy to understand. The credit for such pictures remain with the original publisher. So, what we have seen in the previous lecture, what is meant by mutation? So, mutation is a sudden heritable change in the DNA sequence, in the nucleotide sequence of the DNA. And that change can be caused by a number of factors. For example, there are chemical factors. So we have seen there are chemicals which modify the bases, nitrous acid, hydroxylamine. There are base analogs. There are dyes which can modify the bases. In addition to the chemicals, there are physical and environmental factors also which may cause change in the nucleotide sequence. In this lecture, we'll concentrate on these physical or environmental factors. There are two main physical or environmental factors. One is UV light and the second one is ionizing radiation. Ionizing radiation means radiations like X-rays, like gamma rays, or all other radiations which have shorter wavelength, shorter than the UV light. So when DNA is exposed to any one of them, it can cause UV light or ionizing radiation can cause alteration or removal of bases in the sequence. It can break the backbone of the DNA by breaking the bond, or it can result in the formation of, it can cause formation of covalent cross linkages between the nitrogen bases. So the good thing for us is that nature has evolved a system, a mechanism, wherein as long as one of the DNA strands is intact, one of the two strands of the DNA is intact, the information for the repair can be retrieved, can be obtained from the intact strand. That means DNA can be repaired suitably as long as one of the two strands is intact. So information can be retrieved and the DNA can be repaired amicably, suitably. Now, what are the different DNA repair mechanisms? So, pyrimidines, particularly thymine T, which is present in the DNA, when it is exposed to UV light, two adjacent thymines in the DNA strand, they tend to form covalent linkage between them. So, when they form covalent linkage between them, they form what are referred to as thymine dimers, T double bond T. Two adjacent thymine on the same strand. When such a DNA is exposed, wherever you have such adjacent thymines in the DNA strand, in the same strand, those thymines, they have a tendency to form covalent cross linkage between them. They are called as thymine dimers, shown here also. So these are two adjacent thymine. This is one thymine, and this is second thymine. And when it gets exposed to UV light, they form this kind of covalent cross linkage. This thymine dimer, it doesn't fit into the double helical DNA and it produces a slight bulge. And when such a DNA is undertaken for replication or transcription, the replication and transcription cannot take place properly because of this bulge, because of the presence of these thymine dimers. So for proper replication or transcription to take place, it is important, it is necessary that whatever thymine dimers are formed as a result of exposure to UV light should be removed. So excision of this thymine dimer, we have a mechanism whereby we can, the cell, the organism can get rid of this thymine dimer, and that particular mechanism is one of the best understood DNA repair mechanism, DNA damage repair mechanisms. So therefore we are studying it in more details. Now what exactly is the mechanism? So the mechanism is, it involves three enzymes. And what are those three enzymes? Those three enzymes are coded by a gene complex called UVR-ABC complex. This is the gene complex which codes for these three enzymes. And one of the enzymes which is quite unique is an X-nuclease. X-nuclease. This enzyme is responsible for cutting the DNA at two places, and that is how it removes a 12 nucleotide long stretch at the site of thymine dimer formation. It makes two cuts. First cut is made 8 nucleotides towards the 5' side. So this is the 5' side, this is the thymine dimer side. Thymine dimer has been formed, and as you can see the DNA is slightly bulged out. So X-nuclease will remove a 12 nucleotide stretch. This is the stretch that is being removed. It makes a cut 8 nucleotides towards the 5' end from the site of damage. So this is the 5' end, 8 nucleotides towards the 5' end from the site of damage, and 4 nucleotides towards the 3' end from the site of damage. So that is how it will excise a 12 nucleotide long stretch from the DNA strand where you have these thymine dimers formed as a result of exposure to UV light. Now once you have this gap, this stretch has been removed, this gap is there, so DNA polymerase 1, you know it is a gap filling enzyme, so it comes into play and it extends the DNA chain from the 3' end. This is the 5' end, so therefore this will be the 3' end. So from the free 3' end, it extends the chain, new DNA will be synthesized. Only 12 nucleotides need to be synthesized, and you know that DNA Pol 1 can synthesize up to 20 nucleotides in one go. So the gap will be filled, but you see this nick is there. So this nick is going to be joined by DNA ligase. DNA ligase, we have studied that DNA ligase is responsible for sealing the two ends of the DNA. So that is how, wherever you will have thymine dimers formed in the DNA as a result of exposure to UV light, those thymine dimers will be repaired using these three enzymes and using this UVR-ABC gene complex. Of particular importance is this particular enzyme, X-nuclease. This is a unique enzyme. It is responsible for making two cuts at the site of damage, precisely picking up 12 nucleotide long stretch from the site of damage. The cuts are very specific, 8 nucleotides towards the 5' end from the site of damage and 4 nucleotides towards the 3' end from the site of damage. So a good mechanism is there to get rid of thymine dimers formed as a result of exposure to UV light. Next question that comes is, who identifies the mistakes in DNA? So as you can see, it is the responsibility of the repair mechanism, the concerned repair mechanism, to distinguish between the damaged and the normal strand. One is to identify the damaged strand and the site of damage, and it is the responsibility of the repair mechanism to distinguish between the normal strand and the damaged strand. As far as thymine dimers are concerned, the distinction is relatively easy, because these dimers, they cause formation of a slight bulge. So it becomes easy for the concerned repair mechanism to distinguish between the two strands. So wherever there is a bulge, that particular strand is the one which has been damaged. But there are other incidences, there are other instances, there are other cases. For example, when you have a mismatched base pair in the DNA, okay, in spite of the fact that DNA synthesizing enzyme, whether it is DNA Pol 1 or DNA Pol 3, there are proofreading activity. In spite of that additional, what you can say, feature in the enzyme, mistakes sometimes may still be there. So you may have a mismatched base pair. Okay, so this is mismatched, but both the bases A as well as C, both are normal to the DNA. A is also a normal component of the DNA and C is also a normal component of the DNA. Now, how do the repair mechanisms distinguish between the normal and the damaged strand in such a case? Because in both the strands, you have normal components of the DNA. We know that this is a mismatch, that there should have been a T in place of C or there should have been a G in place of A. But for the repair mechanism to understand, to distinguish between the two, because both are normal, it poses a problem. So nature has provided a mechanism, nature has provided a solution also. Generally, the bases on the parental strand, the old strand, they are methylated over a period of time. Those bases gets methylated over a period of time. So that means the strand or the base which doesn't have a methyl group is the newly added base, and that is considered as the abnormal one, and it is removed because it takes time to methylate the newly added base. It takes time to methylate the newly added base. I've tried to show it over here. For example, so these are the two DNA strands and you have an abnormal base pair, AC. Now the question was whether A is normal or C is normal. So that particular question is resolved by looking at which of the two bases is methylated. A is methylated as shown over here. What does it indicate? It indicates that A is the older one. That means C is the one which has been newly added, which is newly incorporated. And therefore C is taken as the abnormal one and it is repaired. There is a mismatch repair mechanism also. We'll see that also in a short while from now. Now, the next question that comes is, why in DNA you have a T, thymine, while in RNA we have a U? What is the reason? Why not U has also been incorporated into the DNA? Because in DNA, you have a AT pair, while in the RNA, in place of a T, you have a U, AU pair. What is the problem? The problem is that there is only a difference of methyl group between thymine and uracil. In fact, thymine is 5-methyl uracil. Thymine is 5-methyl uracil. I have shown it over here also. Thymine is uracil plus a methyl group. There is an additional methyl group here. That is the only difference between the thymine and uracil. The thing is that biosynthesis of thymine is energetically expensive because you have to add one more methyl group here. Okay, so it would have been energetically speaking cheaper, economical for the cell, for the organism to incorporate U in DNA also in place of thymine. But nature has chosen thymine over uracil, a more expensive thymine, a more expensive base over uracil in DNA. What could be the reason? The reason is that naturally occurring cytosine in the DNA, DNA has got cytosine also. So this naturally occurring cytosine in DNA, it gets spontaneously deaminated. It has a tendency to undergo deamination spontaneously, and when it gets deaminated, it forms uracil. Okay, so for example, shown over here, so you have a normal GC pair, okay, and this cytosine in this GC pair, it has a tendency to undergo deamination. You know, it can regularly undergo deamination, and when it gets deaminated, it forms a uracil. So what do you have now? In place of a GC pair, you have a GU pair. And when such a DNA strand having G in one strand and a mismatched base U, U is what? U is a deaminated cytosine in the other strand. When this DNA undergoes replication, you will have in one strand, in one daughter molecule, GC, which is normal, like the original one, but like the parent, you will have GC here also in one of the daughter cells. But in the other daughter cell, you will have a substitution mutation. You will have, in place of a GC, you will have an AU pair. In place of GC, you will have an AU pair. So, if this cytosine has got this tendency to undergo deamination and form U, it would be it is very necessary to avoid, to repair this U, to restore the original condition, repair this U and convert it back into C to avoid this kind of substitution mutation. But had there been U in place of T in DNA, then for the cell, for the repair mechanism, it would have been really difficult to distinguish between the normal U, which is present in the DNA as part of the AU base pair, and this particular U, which has been synthesized as a result of deamination of cytosine. So to avoid this probable, what you can say, confrontation, this probable, what you can say, confrontation of distinguishing between the normal U and the U which is synthesized as a result of deamination of cytosine, what nature has done, in place of incorporating U, in place of choosing U to pair with A in DNA, it has chosen a T so that this particular question doesn't arise. So the only thing that remains in that case is that whatever U is synthesized as a result of deamination of cytosine, it can be corrected back to cytosine. There is a good mechanism which is present in the cell, in the organism. Let us see that particular mechanism. So this mechanism it has been programmed that to recognize U as foreign. That U, now you know in DNA, it comes only when cytosine undergoes deamination. Because normally DNA doesn't have a U. In place of U, DNA has a more expensive counterpart, more expensive derivative, thymine. So only possibility of having U is by oxidative deamination of cytosine. So this repair mechanism has been programmed in such a way that it identifies U as foreign. And then there is an enzyme called glycosidase. So glycosidases are enzymes. Glycosidase is an enzyme which will be which will be hydrolyzing the glycosidic bond. So what does it do? It hydrolyzes this bond, this glycosidic bond, which bonds the base to the sugar. So that bond is going to be hydrolyzed, and you will generate a hole, a cavity here, where base has been removed. Okay. So this particular hole, this particular site is called as AP site, apurinic site, or apyrimidinic site, AP site. This hole has been generated because of the removal of base due to hydrolysis of glycosidic bond by a glycosidase. Then there is another specific enzyme called AP endonuclease, apurinic or apyrimidinic endonuclease. This enzyme then identifies this site, AP site, and then cuts the backbone adjacent to it. This is the backbone that is going to be cut by the AP endonuclease. AP endonuclease does what? It identifies that AP site where the base has been removed and then makes a cut close to, in the backbone, close to that particular site. And then DNA pol 1 and DNA ligase. DNA pol 1 now you know is a gap filling enzyme. It will synthesize the new, it will add in, it will incorporate a new nucleotide, information for which will come from the corresponding, the complementary strand. There is a G, so it is going to incorporate a C over here, and whatever nick is there, that is going to be sealed by the action of DNA ligase. So, in addition, as I said earlier, there is a mismatch repair mechanism also. It is called as MMR. So we know that DNA pol 1 and DNA pol 3, both of them have proofreading activity. And the chances of a wrong nucleotide getting into the DNA during replication are very, very rare. Nonetheless, mistakes can still take place. So you may have a mismatched pair. So in bacteria, there is a mismatch repair mechanism, and it is made up of the components of this mismatch repair mechanism are three proteins. They are MUT-S, MUT-L, and MUT-H. It is the responsibility of MUT-S to identify the mismatched base pair. And you know, I told you earlier that of the two bases, the one which is methylated is considered as the correct one, and the one which is non-methylated is considered as the newly added, newly incorporated one. So in this particular case, P is supposed to be the newly added because it is not methylated. So it is going to be replaced by a correct nucleotide, that is C. So this mismatched base pair is recognized, is identified by MUT-S, and MUT-H along with MUT-L then cleaves that particular strand in the vicinity of the mismatch pairing. This is the vicinity of the mismatch pairing. So it will cut it here. It is carried out by these two proteins, MUT-H along with MUT-L. So this particular stretch of DNA containing the mismatched base pair, that is going to be removed. Now the thing that you need to understand is that whatever gap is generated, this gap, that gap is filled by the action of DNA polymerase 3, not DNA polymerase 1. This gap is filled by the action of DNA polymerase 3. DNA polymerase 3 is a part of this mismatch repair mechanism here. In humans also, we have a similar kind of a mechanism to take care of the mismatched pairs. So when a person has defect or the mismatch repair mechanism of the person is malfunctioning, then that particular person is likely to suffer from what is called as a Lynch syndrome. What is called as a Lynch syndrome. In humans, if this mismatch repair mechanism is malfunctioning or it is defective, then the person is likely to suffer from what is referred to as a Lynch syndrome. This is nothing but one type of rectal cancer. So the person is likely to suffer by one type of rectal cancer if the mismatch repair mechanism is found to be defective. So this is all about the different mismatch repair mechanisms which are present primarily in prokaryotes and bacteria. Thank you so much.